Hello and welcome back to Her Becoming. My name is Kayla Countryman. I am your host, and thank you for being here. I am honestly so grateful that I was even able to record this episode and get it out for y'all this week. I was so sick last week. I know so many people have been lately. There are like many different types of plagues going around right now, so please be safe out there. Even as someone that is like so healthy, does all the things, every once in a while, I just get knocked down so bad. And I actually came down with strep throat, which I haven't had strep throat since college, maybe even longer than that. And let me tell you, it is far worse as an adult when you are trying to juggle business and work and just existing. I was in so much pain. I couldn't talk. I couldn't run any of my work meetings. I had to pass them all off to other people for the whole week. And I was just in peak misery. And of course, me being me, this podcast just means the world to me. So I was praying as I was taking each antibiotic, please allow me to be pain-free and able to record by Sunday. And I was, and I feel pretty much back to 100%. So for that, I am just in a lot of gratitude today. For today's episode. So a lot of the time, I really like to plan these episodes based on lessons that I myself am currently learning. That has probably been evident throughout all of the episodes. And the one that we're talking about today specifically is smacking me in the face right now. Like, this is something that is showing up in my life every single day. And I really just need to face it head on. And so I want to bring it to you today as well, because I know that I'm not the only person that struggles with this. This is an episode that's going to be especially relatable to high achieving women out there. You know who you are. So today we're talking about what it looks like to actually make space for the things that you once prayed for that you now have, instead of just rushing on to the next accomplishment. Let me tell you, I am the queen of moving on without acknowledging or celebrating how far I've come or even the woman that I've become in the process. I'm just ready to go to the next thing, to the to-do list. Let's check something else off the list. Let's look at the bingo card and get something else. I am the queen of it. And I know if you're listening to this, there's a high chance that you are as well. But when I look back over the last year, even the last few years, I have quite literally prayed for a life that looks like this. Yet I still find myself chasing more over contentment, chasing that next thing, chasing that next even dopamine hit of that feeling of success, instead of just soaking in everything that I've already done and overcome. Business, and this has been showing up especially in my business and in this podcast, but also in other areas of my life, like in my finances and in my routines. It's just been an ongoing theme in my life lately as I juggle my business, my 9 to 5, having a social life, taking care of myself. I've caught myself spending so much more time thinking and spiraling over what's missing or what I want to do next, instead of focusing on what I have, what's already true in this life right now. For starters, the basics. I have my health, I have a home, my bills are paid by me because I do well enough to pay my bills. I have food, I have shelter, I have the most incredible community, I have a stable job. And after being sick for a week, maybe this is where this topic really surfaced for me. It just puts this into perspective. It's really true what they say, that when you're healthy, you want 100 things. Like, you want everything under the sun. But when you are sick, when you don't feel well, the only thing you want is your health. And that in itself puts gratitude into a whole other lens. I have a remote job with a good company and a business that I have spent over 5 years building. Both of these things at some point in my life were things that I asked for. I worked my ass off to build this business and to get it where it is today. I also, a little over a year ago, was spending months looking for a stable remote job that could bring me in a consistent paycheck that I could lean into while also growing my business. And I have done both of those things. Yet, I still feel behind in my business. I still beat myself up for not spending enough time in my business and comparing myself to other women in business that, in my mind, seem further along than me or more successful than me. That still happens to me. I spend a lot of time in that space. Same thing with this podcast. This podcast has done 40 episodes as of last week. It will only grow from here. It is something that I manifested and created over the span of 3 years of dreaming and creating and building, gotten it to the top 20% of videos in Spotify. And guess what? I still get on myself about feeling like I'm behind, feeling like it's not where it should be, feeling like it's not growing fast enough. These are just thoughts that are constantly in my mind, as I am such a high achieving woman that I feel like I have to hit that next milestone before I celebrate how far I've already come. This can even show up in your lifestyle, in your hobbies, in your routine. The privilege of having hobbies. I don't have any kids. I play tennis whenever I want. I spend time with my favorite people. I have the ability to travel and to make memories. The lifestyle that I live right now is actually my dream. Like, if I really think about it, the lifestyle that I get to live, my freedom on the weekends, getting to work out in the morning before work, getting to go for a walk in the evening, playing tennis again, whenever I want. This is actually a dream. And guess what? I still beat myself up, or I'm constantly like, my morning routine needs to look a different way. I need to be better about meal prepping. I need to be better about practicing my self-care. I need to journal more. These are things that are real thoughts in my mind. And I know I'm not alone in this. And that's why I wanted to film this podcast episode for you guys, is because I know we all do it. I think it happens more often for women than men. And then I think it's tenfold in high achieving women, because we were raised on the belief of accomplish this, then rest, accomplish this, then experience X, Y, and Z. That is the track that we took. And so I want to encourage you and myself to come back to gratitude, to remind yourself that the life that you're living today is a result of everything that you've already accomplished and all the dreams that you've manifested and all of the work that you've done to get to this place. And I want to talk about what this feeling of chasing and not enoughness feels like in the body. In the body, this urgency feels like a false sense of being behind, and it feels like a chase. It feels like you have to always be in go mode. I often ask myself, who am I comparing myself to? Who am I thinking I'm behind compared to? It's all of these other people that have never been in my shoes, that do not have my story, that do not have my experience, that do not have my dreams and desires. We are all completely individual and unique beings, meaning we are completely made up of our own roadmap of what we want to accomplish and then a plan of how we're going to get there. No two are the same. And so that's why I think it's so silly when I catch myself comparing to others and when I hear of other people comparing themselves to others, because there's just simply no comparison when you are building your own dream life. But when that urgency hits in the body, it can feel like restlessness. It can feel like analysis paralysis. Like you see so many other people doing what you feel like you should be doing, and then you kind of just freeze, go into a freeze state and don't know what to do next. And it can also show up as a fear of losing momentum, a fear of falling behind if you don't keep your foot on the gas pedal. And so why does this happen? You know, I love talking about the nervous system, so we will start there. In our nervous system, sometimes chaos feels familiar and peace feels unfamiliar. If you are used to constantly striving, constantly working towards more, constantly being in that hustle state, then resting feels lazy. Resting feels unfamiliar. The familiar state becomes working hard, the to-do list, the constant tasks, the goal sheet, the Q1, Q2, what am I going to accomplish, the measuring. That feels more familiar than resting. So we start to associate resting as feeling lazy. You may be constantly braced for success, love, and safety to disappear. If you are used to being in a constant state of go mode, it could be a protection mechanism trying to make sure that you don't lose out on that success, that love, or that safety because you're used to having to always protect it. Something that I think is just so fascinating that is very relevant to this conversation. Our nervous system is wired for familiarity, not happiness. I'm going to say that again. Our nervous system is wired for familiarity, not happiness. We want to go for what's familiar. I talked about this last week a little bit with the brain. The brain looks for proof of what we know is true, what is familiar. Same thing here. Our nervous system is wired for familiarity. So that means hustling might feel very familiar to you. That's what you've always done. That's your pattern. That's what you're used to. Chaos might feel familiar. Chasing perfection might feel familiar. Proving yourself over and over and over to whoever might feel familiar. That means that those are the things that you are going to consistently do unless you break that pattern. It also means that when life gets good, when things are looking like what you've manifested, what you've dreamt of, you start to do a few things. The first thing, you start to look for the next problem. You start to move on to something else to solve because you're Bob the Builder and you have to get into fix mode. The second thing you can do is create urgency. Start to rush or fall into that hustle culture again. Third thing you do, minimize the win. Skip over celebrating it, skip over thinking of how far you've come, or brush it off as no big deal because you don't want it to seem like this big event that happened. You just want to keep going forward. The fourth one, and this is the one I struggle with the most, is move the goalpost so that it's never enough. You always need more. It's not enough to just launch the podcast. You have to monetize the podcast, and then you have to grow the podcast to 100 episodes, and then you have to build the community, and then you have to launch the offers, and it's just this constant moving up the goalpost. And it's not to say that you should stop once you accomplish something. Like, that's not how you build an empire, build a business, build a successful life that you want. But it's just about stopping at those milestones and actually acknowledging and celebrating what you've done instead of moving right through it and going into fix mode, creating urgency, minimizing it, pushing that goalpost back. Because the reality is sometimes we don't rush because we're ambitious or because we're so motivated. Sometimes we rush because we don't know how to regulate inside contentment. So that means we don't know how to sit with the peace of doing what we said we were going to do. We don't know how to just be with that moment. So that's from a nervous system lens. And there's other things that can happen. Like I briefly mentioned, especially high achieving women, we were raised to follow a specific path and chase. You're rewarded when you get first place, when you get the trophy, when you make the dean's list. Those are just things that are the natural parts of growing up and being a, dare I say, gifted student or a gifted child. But then we get to adulthood and we're in that same chase, that same cycle of I have to do in order to prove my worth. It's also, we got to take it back to capitalism. Capitalism loves to tell us that more is better. You need the better job. You need to climb the corporate ladder. You need to make more money. You need to own all the properties. Like, how much pressure are we constantly under to build some life that might not even be our dream? We don't even give ourselves the time and the space to think about what we truly desire because we're so busy consuming social media and scrolling and seeing everyone else's dreams and desires and then taking those on as our own. And that puts us into the chase. There are so many times that I catch myself gawking over other business owners or other podcast hosts and wishing I had what they have. But then I have to ask myself, why? Why do I want that specific thing? Why can't I create my own vision of what I want and build into that instead? And I think that is just a result of capitalism shoving this idea that there's never enough. There's never enough. You always need more. You need to buy more. You need to make more. You need to spend more. Just never enough. So I want to give us permission to release that belief that we need more and sort of go against them there. And when we're always looking for the next thing, we make this part of who we are. We start to take on the identity that comes with this constant chase of that next accomplishment. So in looking at the identity, we can ask ourselves, who am I if I'm not chasing the next thing? Does it make me lazy or less of a hard worker if I'm not constantly working towards something? Who am I if I've already arrived somewhere? Does it mean that my success is done once I check that off the list? And this one I absolutely love is, can I be someone who is growing and satisfied? Because I think so often we get stuck in this space of growing or healing and we forget to be satisfied. We see contentment as this negative thing of, oh, they're just okay with their life. They don't want more for themselves. Well, can we grow and also be content? Can we grow and also be completely fine with what we have? Because there is a difference between expanding from a place of lack and expanding from a place of abundance. Lack says, I need more because what I have is not enough. And I think this is where a lot of people exist, including myself sometimes. I need more because what I have is not enough. We forget about the shelter we have, the food, the water, the bills being paid, the good job, the health, the community. It's not enough. I need more, right? Compared to expanding from a place of abundance, abundance says, my life is already full as it is, and anything else is just a bonus. When you have the basics taken care of, when you sit from a true place of gratitude and know that your life is full and nothing is missing, anything else is just a bonus. Do I want to grow her becoming into this massive brand that is known around the world and viral and monetized? Of course. And I believe that I will. But I have to check myself because doing that from a place of lack is not going to get me there. That can only be done from a place of abundance, from a place of believing that what I have done with this podcast is already enough. It's already amazing and impressive and beautiful. And the fact that it will continue to grow is just a bonus. I don't need to chase that success because I haven't done enough yet. And that's the difference. So, a few things that we can do in practice to avoid that constant moving on to the next thing and really soak in everything that we've already accomplished. So, the first one is obvious: learn to stay in the moment instead of constantly escaping it. I'd like to blame our phones for this one. I'd like to blame social media for this a bit. We are constantly glued to realities that are not our own. We are constantly doom scrolling into the news, other people's lives, other people's dreams. And what that does is it takes us out of the present moment. And then again, I'm going to repeat it. It makes us believe that we want these dreams that don't even belong to us. And so one of my favorite mantras that I tell myself all the time, I might have it tattooed one day, is be here now. And if I am truly following that mantra, be here now, I am not on my phone. I am just embracing where my feet are. What am I doing in this moment? How do I feel in this moment? How much gratitude can I experience in this moment? Similarly, letting joy be present and acknowledging it when it's there. One of my favorite things that I learned through healing from heartbreak is just taking a moment to actually notice and acknowledge when I'm experiencing joy. And that might sound silly or cliche, but that looks like when I'm going out for walks and I see a hummingbird. Just taking a moment to notice the beauty of the hummingbird, or listen to the birds chirp, or when I'm belly laughing with friends, taking a mental note of like, this is how life is meant to be lived. Another thing that I know I need to work on, and this is going to hit home for a lot of you, is not constantly being in fix-it mode. Everything, including ourselves, does not need to be improved all the time. You do not need to be in self-help mode all the time, to-do list mode, home improvement mode, improving your self-care, improving your lifestyle. We do not need to constantly be in fix-it mode. You do not need the next best solution, the next best product, the next best piece of technology. Sometimes we just need to sit with what we already have and be grateful for it and recognize it and see that it's already more than enough. This goes for healing too, and we talked about this a bit last week. That dial doesn't always need to be all the way up. Sometimes we are allowed to just exist, to just lay on the couch, to just watch a show because we feel like it, and not have to feel like we need to be in to-do mode. With that, incorporating full rest days, specifically for my business owners. And if you have a 9-to-5 and a business like I do, this is hard to do because there are only 2 days in a weekend. That means no planning, no plotting, no strategizing. It is so hard, and I think this is where part of my spiral comes from, is I convince myself that all of my free time is supposed to go to my business. I have to let myself have hobbies and spend time with my people and go outside, because outside of my 9 to 5, I want to spend my evenings and my weekends building my business. But if I look at the life that I want to create, it can't just be that. So, incorporating full rest days where you are not in fix it mode and you can just be is really important when you are learning to embrace success and embrace how far you've come. So, that's all I have for you today. Today was really just about sharing what's been on my mind heavily, talking through this lesson in real time. Sometimes these episodes, specifically outlining these episodes, feels like therapy for me, and that definitely happened to me with today's episode. It just feels right on time, something that I'm really battling right now. So let this be your reminder. Embrace how far you've come. Embrace the person that you are today. Embrace the person you've become because of everything that you've gone through. There's always going to be time to do the next thing, to work towards that next goal, to accomplish that dream, and it is going to come in due time. But when we are constantly on the hamster wheel of chasing, we don't get to see the journey. And the journey is the most beautiful part. The becoming is the reason that we are all here. It is the life that we get to experience in the in between. So, from my heart to yours, let's embrace it. Let's focus on it. Let's give ourselves the space and also the celebration of being exactly who we are today. Please share this episode with someone that you feel like needs this message right now. I know so many of us do, in a world that feels chaotic and in a time where it can really feel like we're just not doing enough. This is your reminder that you absolutely are. This is your reminder that I'm enrolling clients for visionary sessions right now. Visionary sessions are my one-on-one 90-minute coaching session where I help you make a plan, get clear on your vision, get clear on your goals, and really start closing the gap between who you are today and who you want to be. As a podcast listener, you get $50 off with the code HERBECOMING. It is linked in the show notes. You can take a look and schedule your call and handle it all in one quick and easy step. All right, I appreciate you. As always, like, subscribe, rate, review, share. I will see you on the next episode. And until then, be well.